Hey everybody, welcome to episode 149 of Making It. I'm Bob Clagett, here with David Picciuto and Jimmy Diresta.
Hey guys, what's up?
Hey, how are you guys?
Pretty good. Hey, we did it. First try. Yeah. It worked. We had a few people suggest that new entrance. So,
Rhythm.
we tried it out, and it worked.
Very good.
Yeah.
So let's all talk over each other right now.
Okay, and what's...
I love you.
Yeah. All right, see you guys next week. Jimmy, what's up? What have you been doing?
Oh, man, just been hustling. I really worked hard to get my vlog out last night. I finished it about 5 in the morning, so I slept for about 3 hours up till now.
Ooh.
Everything's great, but the vlog's out there, and it covers a bunch of projects I'm doing. I'm still working on my Bowie knife, and got a bunch of ice picks ready to go, new printing plates. Oh, my God. I've been trying this eBay thing out, and it's been working out, because every time anything kind of oddball happens in the shop, I get emails right away. You should eBay that. You should eBay that. And so I started eBaying some ice picks here and there, and they sold. They sold for like $500. So far,
Wow.
2. And then last night I was just kind of tidying up at the shop, and I have this printing plate that I crushed by accident, because there's like these brackets inside the platen that closes, and these brackets popped open and closed on the plate, and literally just put a perfect crush line in them. So I offered it up for eBay last night, and it's doing pretty well. When that particularly happened, everyone's like, "Oh my God, you should sell that. You should sell it." So last night on a whim, I put it up, and it's doing pretty good. It's at about $450 at the moment. And
Wow. People will pay that much money for something broken.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Only
I
because
should
it's
just go
from me.
break stuff in my shop and put it up. Oops, I broke this board. Oops.
And what am I doing? I'm working on a couple of frame ideas, working with Miter Set on the frame idea. I have my Bowie knife. I just got a commission to do a desk for library that has to look like books, so that's exciting. It's going to be a bunch of books, so that I'm going to start working on probably today. Yeah, so it's good. Just hustling. The hustle never ends. Always doing something.
Myself, I don't have a lot going on. I'm finishing up the bench number 2 video where I had all the accessories. And Rockler sent me something that's really cool that I'm curious to try out. But it's like a little vacuum pump to hold down pieces. So I'm installing T-Track into my bench, and it has these 2 little vacuum holders that will fit into that T-Track. And you flip on the pump, and it will hold the piece down. And then you have no clamps or anything in your way, so you can route around that. And it's also something that I could use over at the CNC to hold things down. So I haven't tried it yet. I don't know how loud it is or how well it works, but I have high hopes for it. The reviews on it were pretty good, so that's something I'm looking forward to trying out. And then as it's starting to get cold, I gotta get back to working on the shop a little bit. I gotta fix the drafty garage door. So I may slow down with the videos over the next couple weeks. We got the holidays and family stuff going on, and I might work on getting some things ready for the new year.
Yeah, it's kind of a good time to reset. It's weird, though. I've thought about that. I'm kind of torn about how to do that, though, because I'm starting to get ahead on videos, and then I think, well, the last couple weeks of the year, like, that's a good time to just take a break and not put anything out and build up a little lead and get some stuff done. But then you think about it, and a lot of people are sitting at home watching videos during the last couple weeks of the year. People take off work and stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Am I missing an opportunity there? But
I do my best work between New Year's and Christmas, usually, because everybody's out of my hair, and I just go right into the shop and come up with some good stuff.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's kind of funny you said you were doing the second video for your bench, because I just did a second video for my miter saw station, because the first one I built, the first video, it's really bare bones. Intentionally, it was supposed to be really functional, really basic, and easy for anybody to build. And so in that video, I asked people to give me suggestions on like how to expand it, like what to do next to it. A lot of really great ideas, simple stuff, stuff I'd already planned on doing, some of it. But anyway, I took a lot of those suggestions and made another video that's actually longer than the first one about additions. And it's just like some small changes to it, some kind of cool stuff. I think, I don't know, I think it's worthwhile. But it is kind of weird to do like a part 2 to a video that didn't really... it was finished. Like the first video, it was completed. And so it's kind of interesting, kind of different for me to come back to something and be like, oh, here's a bunch of stuff I change about it to make it better. And, but anyway, so that's this week.
I'm really looking forward to that because I'm going to be building mine in January. And I know, I think I have a really good idea of what I want, but maybe your video will trigger some new ideas. So I can't wait.
Yeah.
Even, I have I don't mean to interrupt, but I have, the miter saw that I have has one of the highest rated dust collection, systems on there, but it's still a messy tool, even with that good dust collection. And so I'm thinking about doing the thing where you did with the hood, where everything just kind of fits through the little cavity that you made.
Yeah, so that was one of the big changes actually that I made on this one. Oh. And so the first one I made, I cut out the shape of I moved the saw in all the different ways that I would typically use it, which is, turning it at 45 degrees in both directions, and then the up and down motion. So I drew that out and made the hood, like you're talking about, the cover for it. Now, I don't typically make a lot of compound cuts, but when for anybody that doesn't know, when you do that, you're leaning the saw left and right, you're leaning it, and you're turning it. And so the shape of Jimmy, you're muted.
Yeah, I knew. I was just testing you guys. It takes a lot of space.
You passed.
when you do compound cuts, takes up a tremendous amount of unforeseeable space. Like all of a sudden you build and then you do. Oh, I have to do a compound cut. You got to like uninstall the saw, put it on a table.
So that one, it's not something I do very often. So I didn't really consider that in the first version of this table. But people brought it up, and I was like, well, I may need to do it. But either way, it's like it would be a good thing to figure out how to do. So I made the center section where the saw sets wider, enough to account for the leaning of the saw. But then the face of the thing is still kind of a problem, because to account for the new shape, you have to cut a bigger hole, which makes the dust collection worse 95% of the time, right? So what I ended up doing was making the same shape hole that I actually traced the first one that I made on a larger piece, and then just made it so the whole front of that box is magnetic. And so if I do want to make a compound cut, I just snap off the front of the box, make it, put it back on, good to go. Good. And it works great. So
stealing that.
Do it.
Totally stealing that. Yeah.
It's funny. Yesterday, Taylor and I drove. One of our neighbors built a big barn in their backyard, but we didn't actually watch the progress. It was just there one day, and we drove by it last night, and they have a giant RV in the barn, and the door is way too small. And immediately we go, how did they get it in there? Did they build it around it? But the garage door has like this. It's all handmade, so it's not like a store-bought thing. The garage door has like this big piece. And I said, that must come out with magnets or something. Obviously, it's way too heavy. It's 12 feet wide and 6 feet high. But they made this thing. It must hinge up. So they made so it pulls in. It's like a carport. It's not really a garage because it doesn't seem to have doors. But it's got a huge object in it that definitely didn't go through the door. So anyway, that reminds me of that. If anybody wants to make a garage with a tiny door, you can hinge it up and use magnets.
It actually would be a shame, but also really funny if they did build it around the thing and just didn't put it together. Wait a second. This isn't going to work.
Let's go on vacation. Wait a minute.
Or they made the whole building as a topper that fits on top of the thing so they can just drive it around and have a cover with them all the time.
It's two-sided, so one side's empty and once this thing fills up.
There you go.
2 lanes.
Full of bad ideas, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so I did that, and then we're doing lots of Christmas stuff this week. Of course, we went to see Star Wars. You guys don't care. That's cool. I won't bother you with details, but super enjoyed it.
We just watched Rogue One 2 nights ago,
happens?
so to get ready to go see this. Yeah, so we do care.
Well, that one has nothing to do with this one.
I understand, but I didn't. Okay. I have to watch it. You just
completeness. Yeah. Did you like it?
I say I'm gonna say no, and I really liked what's the name of the one before it that came out a couple years ago.
Force Awakens.
Yeah, we really liked that one.
Okay.
We really did not care for Rogue One. It wasn't horrible, but I didn't see the reason of making it, and just because it doesn't fit into the story, it's just this extra movie. Like I don't want to be the guy who hates everything, but I didn't really care for it.
2 thumbs down.
That's cool. Yeah, a lot
Picciutos.
of people feel that way about all of them. Everybody has a different opinion. That's cool. A lot of people don't like this new one. I mean, a lot of people who love Star Wars are really upset about this one. But that's a story for another day. I'm actually going to be on the Making Geeks podcast this week. I think it's this week. They do a spoiler cast. Like, they talk about the movies in spoiler form. And I've been on the last 2 years worth of Star Wars episodes, and I'm going to be on that this week. So if anybody wants to hear me like totally geek out with a bunch of other geeks about it, that'll be this week. So anyway,
why do people not like it? Like, what is one thing that me as a layperson could understand?
Without giving anything away, people have... Okay, the way I look at it is I have a lifelong history with Star Wars. It came out the year I was born. It's something that's always been a part of my life, something I've enjoyed for a bunch of different reasons. And so with it being that long and that much a part of something, you have like an attachment to how it goes. And this new movie, the company and the director took everything that you know about Star Wars and that you enjoy and completely flipped it on its head. And so you walk out of it with an entirely different place than what you walked into. And so I think that's just making people upset. I like it for that reason. I mean, I think
the guy dressed in black, is he a good guy in this movie?
Yeah, he now has a zebra print costume, and that's basically all that happens in the movie.
Is that what happens? Does he wear like a...
no, that's not at all what happens.
I was going to say something stupid. Is he in it? The guy in the black suit, is he in it?
Yes.
Who does his voice now?
People get really upset. It's still
there's a person in there.
No, but I'm saying it's not James Earl Jones' past, hasn't he?
It is.
Oh,
James Earl. No.
He hasn't.
This is an entirely different character with a different movie. They just have the same color costume. That's the only thing.
But James Earl Jones did the voice in Rogue One.
Yeah, he did Darth Vader's voice always.
Oh, okay.
He's still alive.
He is. Oh, wow. You never see him in the media anymore at all.
Yeah, I don't think he does acting anymore. But I don't know. Yeah, he's still around. But no, this character is a different generation of people. So
this is like pre Darth?
We have to be really
post.
careful because even little things like this, people get upset about. Like, people consider this spoilers, so we got...
I mean, the movie that came out 2 years ago explains this, so I think we're free there to say that the guy that you're talking about is Darth Vader's grandson. And then we should leave it at that and move on. But if you want to hear me talk about it at length...
Are there spaceships in this? Are there spaceships in this one?
There are spaceships in Star Wars, yes.
Are there, like, tracer bullets?
No.
Oh.
I don't think. I don't know.
Is it in the same year that Star Trek is? Like, do they coincide?
They do. They hang out. Usually Darth Vader and Spock are hanging out, and that's kind of the big problem with this movie is they're hanging out. One guy makes fun of the other guy's ears, and the other guy makes fun of the guy's lightsabers. And
you guys want to hear something funny? Like, as
a
kid, one of the biggest reasons I never got like associated or attached or got on the I used to go to a movie. I was in a film class. Sorry, I'm confusing myself. I was in a film class, and the teacher would always say, either you get on the train or you don't. That's it, at the opening of the movie. And the reason I never got on the train for Star Wars or many other sci-fi movies, including Game of Thrones, and I might have said this, I just don't understand where it is in the context of now. Like, when I watch, I know there's probably a simple answer, but I just can't.
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
That's literally the first piece of text in all of the movies.
But like, I need to know like what's the number and associated to the year that we have. Like when we watch Game of Thrones, which I'm usually watching out of one half of my left eye while I'm doing something else. I go, what year is this? And Taylor's like, there is no year. Just watch. I'm like, I need to know what year, because they have like they have medieval stuff, and they got like combinations of all things, and like, where in the world is this? And do they know America? I mean, I didn't mean to say America. I meant to say, do they know Europe? What's going on in Europe at the same time? Is there any context? They're like, is this in another planet? Those are the questions that immediately put the brakes on for me, because I need to know all the answers to all that stuff. What year is it? Where is it in relationship to the Renaissance? Where is it in relationship to the Roman Empire? And there's no answers to any of those things. So I just go,
I like your attitude.
Well, I mean, there's like a suspension of belief that you have to put out there when you go to watch fantasy, because it's not tied to anything. So there's part of you that just has to be like, this is not real. This is not in a real place or a real time, and I can still enjoy it. Well, that's what I do. You don't have to do that. You can.
No, I mean, honestly, that's been the thing for me. That's why, because like Taylor likes a lot of this fantasy stuff, and we watch it in bed together, and I just go, so what year is it supposed to be? It's the same question I always ask. And
does Taylor ever just tell you to shut up?
Every time. Just shut up and watch it.
I will say that I'm like not really a Star Trek fan. I mean, it's fine. It's like I enjoy them, but I'm not like I'm a big Star Wars nerd. I'm not a Star Trek nerd. But that is a series of stories that does have a specific future time to Earth. So if that's something that you really need, then
I didn't know that about Star Trek.
You could go watch a Star Trek show and be like, I know that this one is 2,500 years or whatever it is.
It's like 2010. They're like standing on another planet. Maybe
or like
1965.
Buck Rogers, where at the beginning of Buck Rogers, they say like, in the year 1986, Buck Rogers is, but whatever. Anyway, how did we get talking about this?
Let me ask you guys something. Just another simple question, since now I got my curiosity peaked. Does Game of Thrones take place on Earth?
I've never seen Game of Thrones. I honestly have no idea.
Right. Yeah, I've hardly seen
it. I'm gonna go with no, but I don't know that.
So there's horses in space?
Yeah. Actually, the new Star Wars movie has a space horse in it.
Is it dressed in white plastic?
No, it's dressed in a zebra costume. Anyway, all right. What are we talking about today?
Oh man, that was the best intro ever.
Yeah.
So our good buddy JB sent me a message. Jimmy and I met JB last year. He's a good dude, and he's a good follower of the podcast. His question is, as we get to the end of the year and the beginning of the new year, what will you stop doing this year and why? What will you continue doing and why? And what will you start doing and why? So stop, continue, and start. And I really have not put any thought into this, and we're all kind of rubbing our faces right now, thinking.
We're all holding on,
stroking the beards. Yeah.
I will say, if I may start, that
please.
As far as the business of what I do, the last 4 months have been the best 3 or 4 months of my business ever, and I think I have a good flow. I have a formula that's working. And so when I get asked the question, what are you going to do in 2018? And I think it's going to be a lot of the same, because I finally found this really good flow that works with me. And there's things that I do want to try. It's just like, how do I make the time to do that? So what will I stop doing? Long pauses on the podcast.
I was going to say, why don't we go around and do like each one of each?
Sure.
So we all have time to think about. That way, you don't have to figure out all 3 of yours right now.
Okay.
So you kind of did both.
Well,
you did continue.
I'll come up with more in-depth answers to all these. How about that?
Okay.
All right.
What you got, Jimmy?
So what am I going to start doing? What am I going to stop doing?
Let's do start.
What am I going to start doing? I'd like to try and start being more organized. I could tell you, I'm going to just do a little preemptive. I'm going to stop counting on my iPhone calendar because I missed 2 meetings this week. Because now that it's up to the right date, I set an alert. The alert doesn't go. I missed 2 phone call meetings, which are pretty precious, and I'm really upset with myself because I counted on the iPhone. Now that I'm using the calendar again since like version 1, iPhone 1. It's been 10 years since I used the calendar. Go.
My friend David works at the Apple Store and listens to the show, and said he probably knows what the problem is, and he'll be happy to fix it for you over the phone.
Wow, it's funny because I've gotten
you the thing fixed.
I got a couple people emailed me, the progression of windows to go and click and do, and it worked. And so now I open it up and it goes to today's date. I set an alert for a meeting the other day with a client. Totally, like 2 hours later, I'm like, what? Holy, and then they texted me and my phone was in a non-service area. But I think the phone should have at least locally rang even though I was in a no service zone. It should have at least reminded me, hey, don't forget to go to that meeting today. And then it happened this Saturday, same thing. I set up a meeting. I thought the first time was because I had no service, but then it happened again. So I was really frustrated going into the evening last night, realizing I missed my Saturday meeting, Skype call with a casting director. Anyway, those are here nor there. We'll figure that out later. But one thing, I'm going to try and be more organized, and that's why I talked about the iPhone thing, because I counted on the iPhone instead of writing on my hand, and I missed 2 meetings in the last 4 days. So I was really upset about that. But I'm going to try and be more organized, and I'm keeping my pad. See this yellow pad? This has become my little clutch blanket. And you know what I just got? Which hopefully will come today. You guys see it? It keeps popping up on Instagram. And so I just said, you know what? In a moment of weakness, I bought it. The Remarkable. It's the little sketch pad that it's kind of like an iPad you can draw on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I picked one up. We'll see. Because I constantly doing this. So I have yellow legal pads all around me, like a nut job, and every one of them's got important information scribbled on the top page. And I saved, like receipts, I saved the old pages just to remember like what I did or didn't cross off. And so this is honestly I know it's like so archaic, but it's how I can stay organized. And I'm finding a big dip in all my analytics. Everything is down. I mean, it could be because I'm out of the city. I don't know what it is, but I'm trying to figure out ways to reinvent myself, and part of that is just doing just the same old videos that I did in the very beginning. Because every time I put a video out that's like 6 minutes long and fast, everyone says, classic Diresta. Which to me, I think I've been doing the same thing all along. But I'm going to try and make an effort. Because remember about a year and a half ago, everyone's like, if your video is not 10 minutes long, it's going to just go to the bottom of the algorithm and no one's ever going to see it. But when I do a quicker video under 10 minutes, it seems to perform better. But in general, like my people subscribing to the channel is much lower than it's ever been, and people watching videos is much lower than it's ever been. So I just trying to figure out ways of reinventing myself. Now, I don't know if that's because, like I said, I'm thinking maybe because I'm not in the city shop, which is, that's never going to happen again. So I have to really figure out a workaround.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So I don't know. I'm like Madonna. I got to start wearing like cone bras and dancing in front of everybody. So I'm going to start doing that, I think. Yeah.
Okay, you heard it here.
Next video, cone bra.
Just so you know, I'm never going to watch any of your videos ever again if you do that.
But the one thing I've always done is like if I make it a point to do something, so this is off that topic now, I'm on something else, but the idea, if I make it a point to do something, like for instance, restore this power hammer, it might sit there for nearly a half a year, but I will definitely get to it. And I started getting to it this week. And so that's one thing is I almost always finish everything I start. And so going into the new year, I actually was just thinking about this and reminded myself before we even talked this morning. And just try and keep my head down and focused on the things I put on my list, my to-do list, long-term to-do list, short-term to-do list, and just try and make cool, new, interesting things. I'm getting a big CNC machine this year, so I'm excited to try and invent some processes I can make on the CNC machine. And I have a behind-the-scenes business partner in the last 6 months and discussing ways of bringing in some income. And one thing I brought up, something I've always wanted to do, is make farm tables now that I have room. And that's in my latest vlog. I talk about it. So I bought a bunch of wood and I bought some materials, and either this week or next week I'm going to build my first farm table. I'm going to try and start selling more things. I mean, obviously I need the money, but I also don't need them hanging around. I make things and they just sit around. So now in my old age and my need for money for the barn, I'm going to start making things and selling them more often. So yeah, that's it. Just try and hustle and make more money and reinvent myself. I mean, I guess that's kind of turned into more of like a New Year's resolution, but there are a couple things I'm going to stop doing, but we'll go around the table.
Cool. For me, for starting, I want to... It's kind of weird now that I look at this. I have 2 things written down, and they both start with more. And I already do... I don't have a lot of time, so I'm not really sure how I'm going to quite make this happen. But I want to do more types of content. So I have another podcast idea that I'd like to do on a regular basis. I've got a couple other types of videos. I want to do more behind the scenes stuff because some people, not a lot of people, but some people really enjoy those, and I think it adds a different type of value when people see how things are made rather than just like the final video, which also shows how something is made, but how the video is made, I think, gives people an interesting perspective. So I want to do more of that, and that's more of a figuring out how to make the behind-the-scenes shooting a part of the same workflow. And now that I've had Josh around for a little while, we've been trying to figure out how to make the behind-the-scenes shooting just a part of it so that it happens naturally. And then we can decide at the end of a project, like, was the behind-the-scenes for this one worth editing and putting out? Maybe it's not. But a lot of times we'll get halfway through it and go, oh, man, we should be doing behind-the-scenes for this. But you can't start a story like that halfway through. You got to start it at the beginning. So, but more behind-the-scenes. I have more types of shorter content that I want to put in between project videos that I've been thinking about for over a year, and I just haven't ever had time to execute those and get them into the workflow. So I think the big stuff that I want to start doing is start more types of content so that I have a few more varied things that I can lean on. And really, I don't think any of those things that I'm thinking about are going to bring in any more income. I don't think they're just things that I want to do, that just to keep myself not quite so like heads down and building a project, moving on. Like the podcast thing is I often have things that I want to talk about that don't really make sense here. They don't make sense on this show, just in this, what we talk about. And so I think just having a more general venue to be able to like think out loud is part of that. And that's more of like that's not to make money. That's more of just me being able to think out loud somewhere. So, yeah, I think that's what I have for starting.
Well, I think everybody wants to start their sentences off with more, but it's hard to do. I definitely want to do more videos. I know that's not going to happen right away. Something that I want to start doing is I want to start the next book. And I also want to start doing more digital plans. And I want to make sure that my projects in 2018 are a little bit more unique and not just like an ordinary table or whatever. I need to work on my design aesthetic. If I want to call myself a unique woodworker, I need to start putting pieces out there that speak my voice. So yeah, I'm worried that YouTube might not always be around, or it might not be the number one thing, or it might change and people might be split between multiple platforms. And so I want to make sure when that does happen down the road that I'm still okay. So I do want to get more into books and more into digital content that is available on my website. And I've also I've discussed it in the live stream that I did a few weeks ago that I also want to do a podcast, and I've been kind of taking notes. And it's not a making podcast at all. It's more of like a entertainment mind dump of things. And I have an idea for segments that I want to do. I think what's holding me back is just recording that first one just to see how it goes. And so maybe that'll happen down the road. So we'll see. More.
Is that a solo show?
Yeah, that'll be an absolute complete solo show. Yeah, edited too. I don't think it'll be like I'm going to record for 30 minutes and then end it. I think it's going to be I'm going to record this little segment now, and then I'm going to record this little segment and kind of edit it together into a nice punchy little thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm not guaranteeing that. That's just one of many ideas that I have.
You're muted, Jimmy. I was testing you guys again. You passed again. You guys are really good.
I'm on my toes.
I was going to say one thing I want to try and do more in the upcoming year is stop. I have a hoarder gene, of course. Everybody knows that. So I really want to stay on top of my hoarding tendencies and scale back and organize. I mean, I have a couple sections of the property. I just picture myself in 25 years with suspenders and a big belly and no t-shirt on, and talking to a TV crew with a big long white beard. So that makes me scared. So I have to clean up the yard. Me like surveying my junk in the backyard. So
I was going to say, I mean, that could be. You could use that same outfit for all sorts of different shows. So, don't be afraid of the outfit. I mean,
Taylor will have left me years earlier. No, so I get a little nervous about my hoarding tendencies. And now with the printing press, and I get people offering me giant machines basically for free. I've gotten like 5 offers for like, hey, this is just sitting here. I got an offer. This is incredible. I don't know if I told you guys this. I got a guy somewhere in the world through the comments, connected me. Guy's in his 80s. He wants his print shop to go to me because he knows I'll use it. He doesn't want to go and it's in pristine condition. He says, I'm not doing well healthy, and my health isn't doing well, and I don't want my wife to get it because she's just going to part it out. He goes, I want someone that's going to use it. So there's opportunities like that for me to get stuff, and so I have to. You guys are going to laugh when I say this. I can't believe I'm about to say this. I need to make room for stuff like that. For better opportunities to collect junk. So I'm going to really kind of like be... So it's almost like I'm this terminal where I'm kind of like given the opportunity to curate some of this stuff. And I got to be more responsible about like the things I take and not be like, oh, because I was going to buy this big giant lathe a year ago. And everyone keeps asking me, did you buy it? Did you buy it? I'm on the fence. I mean, I've considered calling the guy, but it's not going to be a project that I could restore very easily. I want to kind of focus on things that are already usable, like the couple of printing presses I just got, so I could immediately jump into them instead of being kind of this long waiting game of getting this thing that has to be completely dismantled and put back together. So I'm going to be more selective with the things that I do collect in the future and in my so-called collection. I mean, Taylor keeps saying like, wow, you're amassing this beautiful collection. We really got to take care of it and, figure out where it's going to go if ultimately, it ends up going somewhere else outside of our place. And, all these machines that I'm slowly getting. And my Skype call was about a TV show about, crazy guy that fixes machines. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but I don't know. So I just got to curate my collection and do a better job with it instead of just taking things and parking them. So
that's kind of interesting, though. I mean, and that makes sense. Like, as you collected a lot of stuff over the years just because you had the opportunity to take it.
Right.
And I would imagine, like, hey, a free bandsaw? Of course I'm going to take a free bandsaw.
Right. Now I really have to be like, why do I need it? Do I need it?
Yeah.
If I'm going to be the terminal that gets it, can I give it to somebody else before it comes to me? I've been trying to do that this week with a couple of things. I'm like, hey, if it's going to go in the dump, let me find somebody for it. And, So anyway, I want to try and be more responsible with what I take. Like I took that truck a couple years ago and I really had every intention of fixing it. But that was a big lesson for me because I'm like, I don't have time to sit there and tinker with this thing when I know I could just go and have somebody do it for me. Like it's the unique things I really want to focus on, the things that I can't hire somebody else to do in my old age, in my limited time. I want to really focus on unique, interesting things instead of just something that's kind of run of the mill. So I don't know. I'm kind of meandering my thoughts here, but I guess that would be the point, is just curate my collection more selectively and not just like, oh, I'll take it, which has been my mantra my whole life. That
makes sense though. I mean, like it sounds like you're wanting to focus like where you have limited time. We all have limited time.
Right.
And you're focusing where you want to put it. People ask me about like, why don't you make your own bandsaw or your own whatever? And I'm like,
waste of time.
Why? Like, why would I spend that amount of time to make a thing that I can go buy that's going to work better than what I would make in the first place anyway?
Right.
And it's the same kind of thing. Like, if, you can get these huge chunks of metal that may or may not ever be fixed by you, or you can get like a full pristine print shop that you can
This guy has a machine. He's going to give me...
That's amazing.
He's going to give me a machine that's 125 years old that is in perfect condition from day one. It's never been restored. He said he would give it...
Awesome.
He's near the Smithsonian. He said he would give it to the Smithsonian, but he thinks they're just going to stick it in a storage room. He said no one will ever see it. He says he looked at my channel. He goes, "You'll use it." He goes, "You'll show it off," and that's what will make his warm his heart as he moves on. So yeah, I don't know. Stop collecting garbage. That's what I'm going to stop doing. In summation.
Yeah. Is it my turn?
I think
Yep.
so.
For stopping? Okay. I want to stop wasting 30 minutes. That's the biggest thing for me, I think. Because I find myself... I don't waste a lot of time. I'm usually pretty disciplined about, I have these things to do today. I get right into them. But I have found myself in between things where, like, if I'm waiting on video to render, instead of going and finding something, excuse me, productive to fill this 30 minutes, I'll just sit here on the computer and, like, flip through Facebook or flip through whatever, go through the same tabs that I have open all the time and just, like, kind of, just kind of check in everywhere. And no matter what the intention is, or no matter how many things I'm looking at, it's always 20 or 30 minutes just blown. And then when I look back at my 8-9 hour day and I have one or even two of those 30-minute gaps that have it's just wasted time, I'm like, man, that's a huge percentage of the day that I was just totally unproductive. And it wasn't like I was doing something fun that I enjoy. Go play guitar for 30 minutes. That's maybe unproductive, but at least it would be enjoyable. But sitting here flipping through random stuff and, like, unsubscribing to emails and just like it's just garbage time, and it happens a lot, and it's not something I'm aware of until after it's already passed. And so, like, I'm trying to be more conscious of that so that I can stop wasting those chunks of time.
Exactly to that point. Last night I found myself in the afternoon. Taylor went to the horse and I'm in the home alone, and I just started watching one video after another. Like, one video led to another, and I'm like, what am I doing? And I went out to the shop and I just started cleaning the shop in the backyard. And now that I have this other shop, I really never took the time to curate the little shop in the back and say, like, I don't need 5 sanders here. They can go to the big shop. I don't need this here. I can go to the big shop. I don't need slabs of wood leaning on the wall here. I can go to the big shop. So last night I did that, and the whole entire time I'm, like, sweeping the floor and cleaning up and organizing stuff. I'm saying to myself, wow, I'm glad I'm not sitting inside staring at the phone. And it's that 30 minutes of, like, wasted time that gets you every now and again. You're like, oh, let me see. This old Tony put up a new video. Let me watch it. And then that leads to, like, another video and another video. And then, like, all of a sudden 25 minutes went by.
Yeah. I have narrowed my YouTube. I mean, I've never put a whole lot of time into watching YouTube because it's just, those 15-minute videos stack up. But I've narrowed it down
Mine
to
are going to
where...
be 6 now, so you can watch mine.
Sweet. I've narrowed it down to where I watch YouTube when I run in the morning. I'm trying to run 4 days a week now on the treadmill. It's too cold to run outside, so I run on the treadmill with the TV in front of me, and I'm actually keeping up with, like Alex Steele videos. I love his videos. I totally enjoy them. They're long, and they're every single day. And the only way that I could watch more than 1, maybe 2 a week is to do it while I'm doing something else. And so, like, the running on the treadmill and sitting down on the TV, in front of the TV at night, like right before bed, I watch 1 or 2 maybe with my wife. But that's my YouTube time, and I've, like, compartmentalized it to that so that during my day I'm not tempted to, like, oh, well, I'll just see what's in my subscription feed. It's like that's a morning and a night thing, and that seems to help not waste time. No, it's not waste, but to spend that time there. So anyway, wasting 30 minutes is a big thing. The other thing I wrote down is stop stressing myself out over my self-imposed schedule that nobody else in the world cares about.
Oh, man.
Because
I've been thinking about that, Bob, for you.
Yeah.
Have you?
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. But see, if you think about it, that means I was wrong, that nobody else thought about it. And that's, no. I mean, I've just tried really hard over this last year over the last 2 years maybe, to stick to a weekly video schedule. And I know I've talked about this before, so I don't want to, like, dredge it up again. But, part of moving, I took a couple weeks off here and there. But the biggest thing is that I find myself avoiding projects that I really care about and that I'm really interested in doing because I know they're going to take too long. And I end up like, well, I'll do that at some point, and it just gets pushed down the road because I've got to come up with something that's reasonable to do in the next 2 or 3 days so that I can get back on schedule. And then I keep thinking, well, if I do a bunch of short ones, then I can build up a lead time, and then I can put that lead time towards building something bigger. But the fact of the matter is that's only going to work once. Then I'm going to be back to, I have to make something for next week. And so I'm always going to be chasing this, like, I've got to get something done right now so that I can do something bigger later.
Yeah.
And that's...
Yeah, I've kind of let go of that pressure. If there's something ready to go, it's ready to go. That's so. If it's not ready, then, I have the luxury of putting up a repeat or something from a different channel. But, it's funny. I started doing the vlogs. Everyone's like, oh, you don't make anything anymore. I'm like, no, this would have been just emptiness because I had no projects ready.
Yeah, so that's a big thing, and I think part of it also is looking at long-term stamina as far as, like, I'm not I don't feel old yet, but eventually I'm going to get to a point to where like I don't want to have to work all the time. You know what I mean? And like I try to balance my time from when I work and when I don't work and with my family and all that stuff. It's not like I'm working all the time, but I can see down the road that I'm not going to want to just be chasing this, like, I got to create something every week for the sake of creating something indefinitely. Eventually, I'm going to want to be like, I want to make an R2-D2. And I know that's dumb to some people, but it's a huge thing with a bunch of components that I'm really interested in, and I want to do that. But that's going to take a huge amount of time.
You should always have that, like I have my power hammer, for instance, because I've been blogging about it. But you should always have, like, you know, an ongoing thing in the background that you work on a couple hours a week, or, you know.
Yeah. And I think that's where I'm heading.
Yeah.
You know, is trying to get some of that stuff going. Like my the armor for the Shore Trooper that I started building like a year ago. That's been my kind of thing.
Right.
But I think there's like still something about like the things that you're really interested in, having to push them aside, even, you know, to do a couple hours a week so that you can do things to fill the gap, to fill space, and to be productive and to make income. Like that still feels a little like unsustainable. Eventually, I'm going to have to get, or I'd like to get to a point to where I can just say like, this is the thing that's really interesting to me right now. I'm going to do it until it's done and then put out the video and then go to the next thing that I really care about and I want to do. And I think part of that comes back to me getting in the habit of letting myself off the hook. And I'm pretty sure I said this last year too, but letting myself off the hook about feeling that I have to be as productive as I am all the time. It's not realistic to maintain, you know? So, and I know I've asked people, I've asked viewers, I've asked Patreon people, nobody else cares. This is just me putting the pressure on myself. I'm fully aware of that. But that's just how I naturally am. So part of my next year is going to be trying to stop myself from putting that stress onto myself. So,
I recently reduced all my Patreon rewards and got rid of the things that were causing me a lot of stress and those little deadlines. So on my personal Patreon, I got rid of the Skype calls and a few of the other higher end rewards, and wrote a letter to everybody saying, hey, I know this is going to mean less income for me, but it's going to take the stress off. It's going to take the pressure off, and I can go back to doing what I want. And everybody was just like, of course, we're here to support you. Do what you want to do. And I'm like, so it was one of those things, like, I'm just putting this pressure on me, and it doesn't need to be there. So, yeah.
You know, when I've had a few things like that over the last few years where I've needed to make a change, and I've always gone to the Patreon supporters on my personal one and said, like, look, I know this may make you angry or that you may not be happy with this, but here's what I need. And every single time it's been that same response. We just want to support you. Like, who cares? Like, that's fine. Do whatever you need to do, and that, which is awesome. So I'm going to take advantage of this really interesting segue and thank our Patreon supporters.
Go ahead.
Especially Make, Build, Modify. We're not done with the show, but I just want to throw this in here because we're already talking about Patreon. Make, Build, Modify, Michael Schubert, Works by Solo, Malton Make, Corey Ward, Evan and Caitlin, and Wise Old Dow, plus everybody else. We have a bunch of new patrons this week, people that have signed up, which is really fantastic. So I want to say thanks to all of them who support this show at any level, because it's amazing. And also, when we talked last week about the Patreon stuff, about how they were adding the fees and everything, and in between us recording that show and releasing that show, they came out and said, okay, we hear you. We're not going to make these fee changes. So there's, of course, you know, cynicism that says, well, they're just bowing to like their shareholders, and they're just bowing to this, and they're just whatever. They made the right choice by turning it around, I think. And I honestly, whether people agree or not, I do think that the Patreon people that run that company honestly care about us and other creators being able to do what they want for a living. And so I think that's their main goal. But anyway, I applaud them for reversing that.
All right, I'm going to talk about Patreon for a second, and I have a good transition into what I'm going to stop doing here. So,
fantastic.
I made a mistake with the Patreon extra show content feed this week, where I accidentally exported the extra show at double the speed. And I apologize. I fixed that. But I got a few messages.
Stop exporting things at double speed.
Yeah, I got a few messages saying, I'm not sure if it's my phone or what, but something's weird. And the reason that happened is, I'm going to defend myself. My poor grandma, she fell and broke her leg, and she had to have her knee replaced last week. And so she's okay. She's perfectly fine. This is not a good excuse, but she's perfectly fine. But I try to go visit her every day, and when we're done with this podcast, I'm going to go visit her again. But Logic, where I edit the podcast, has an option of listening to it in double speed. So I was listening to the extra in double speed so I could hurry up and get that done and then get out of the house to go visit poor old grandma. And I forgot to put it back to normal speed, exported it out, and then I was gone for like the rest of the day. And I'm getting all these messages, and I'm like, I can't do anything. There's nothing I can do. So I'm sorry. What won't happen again? Maybe it will. Maybe it won't.
Yeah,
but
that's okay if it does.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop defending myself so much.
Good.
Yes. And stop justifying all my decisions to everybody. I need to focus less on that negative stuff. I want to, if I choose to use this joinery method, I don't need to justify that. I don't need to say, oh, I'm using this expensive tool because whatever. I'm just going to do that. And you can like it or not like it. And if you don't like it, I'm going to stop responding to you. Or at least I'm going to try. It's so hard.
Yeah.
And I find myself at the end of my videos trying to justify why I made this decision, why I did this to my shop, why I have this there. And I don't think I need a reason for everything. I think I can just do things because I want to, and this is my thing. This is how I make things. This is the environment I want to make those things, and I want to focus more on the creativity. So stop overlooking the good comments to respond to the bad comments. That's a big thing, and I don't know why it's so hard. Can somebody tell me why it's so hard to do that?
It's so funny. This morning. I talk with, you guys know Adam Booth, the machinist. He and I have been talking lately. I'm going to do some signage for him. I'm really looking forward to doing a video. We're going to do a little collaboration. I'm going to make some signage for him. So we've been talking, and this week he poured his concrete for his new little garage he's making in his backyard of his house. And I poured the concrete in my workshop. I didn't do it. I hired somebody, and so did he. And the comments, he said, we talked yesterday. He goes, oh my God, wait till you see the comments on your concrete thing. He goes, it's crazy because he poured his during the week. His video's been up. Mine just went up this morning. And right away, this morning I opened my phone. I was like kind of anxious, and right away there's a whole dialogue going on. Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? How am I going to put the power hammer on a 4-inch thick floor? And oh my God! So I started, and I'm like, why am I just let these guys just have a conversation amongst themselves? And I bowed out of I did answer one or two simple ones, but I bowed out of the more complex ones. I'm like, you know what? This guy's right. He's right in his world. I'm never going to change it. So let him be right.
Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time with that too, to be honest. And I think maybe it's because we do something, everybody does things the way that they want to do them. The most natural way, the way that you think's best. You do that thing. And if you're doing it by yourself in your house, you just do it. But we do that, and then we put it out and we have one output that takes literally hundreds of thousands of inputs from the other side. And you have all of these people who have an opinion. But if it was one-on-one, that's no big deal. But we're in this like weird reverse funnel where we have all this input, and I think it masses up. At least for me, it masses up. And so I feel like, well, people have asked about like why I did this, 10 times or 20 times. And like, that's enough for me to want to respond to it and start to try to feel like defensive. And yeah, it's not a justification. I think that's just like, you get a really imbalanced amount of input for the output when you broadcast to a lot of people. And I'm sure, like every actor who's ever been on a movie or TV, they get that same thing. Every musician who's ever put out an album that's gone to a bunch of people gets that same thing. It's not, unique to us or anything. But I think when you have a platform that reaches a huge amount of people, you get an imbalanced amount of response to stuff that you feel like you have to justify. But I could be wrong about that. All right, what's the next? Did we?
What
is
are you
that
gonna,
all of them?
What are you going to continue to do?
Oh, yeah, Jimmy.
What am I going to continue to do? Try and come up with unique, unusual content. And I find me tinkering alone in the shop, which I spent quite a bit of yesterday doing, is the most enjoyable time for me. And it's when I come up with sort of the out-of-the-box thinking. And that's definitely what I'm going to continue to do, is just try and do those little quirky things like my star keys and stuff like that. My buddy Jeff visited me this week and brought me a bunch of dog tags for my dog tag machine. So Jeff, thank you for that. We talked a little bit, but they work perfect.
You have a dog tag machine?
Yeah. Oh, Picciuto, I thought you were going to do another spit take. You turned your head.
No,
I thought you were going to.
No. That was a one time only.
Yeah, you got to go watch my video a couple of weeks ago. I put up a video like my 100,000, my 1.100,000 video, 1.1 million that is, of
Let's make that clear.
my collection of machines that make type. And so I have a dog tag machine that I bought a couple years ago, and it needs a slight restoration, but it works. It's just kind of, there's a couple things about it, like springs are deteriorate and stuff, but it works. So my dog tag machine, I have this thing that punches stencils from the turn of the century, and this other machine that cancels checks, and it puts the word canceled throughout the whole check. Anyway, so go look at that. You'll find that interesting. So just that time tinkering last night and understanding how that machine worked, I'm just going to keep doing more of that, because that'll inspire some interesting something down the road. I 100% been thinking about the idea that the competition now on YouTube is incredible, with someone like Alex Steele, who's insanely talented. Liam Hoffman, insanely talented. Some of the knife makers are incredibly talented. I can't compete. I mean, I just don't have the skill set. But the one skill set I do have is out-of-the-box thinking and bringing the playfulness to the things I do. Obviously, client work is just going to keep coming in. And how can I focus what I'm good at and get the most out of it? Honestly, I look at some of these guys that are coming out, and I'm like, wow, there's no way I could do what they do as beautifully as they do it. And then I got to think to myself, we're all in slight competition here. I got to think, how can I compete with that audience? I'm not going to make a hatchet. I'm not going to make an axe that's nearly as sexy as Liam's or what those guys can do. So I really got to think out of the box. How can I do what I can do in my world and inspire people in the same limited conditions, without hydraulic presses and forges and stuff, to do something either similar or how can I inspire somebody with like a set of keys? I'm just thinking of my past examples, to do something interesting and clever and fun, and get them to think out of the box, or get them to be inspired to do whatever it is they've been afraid to do. So, I mean, I think that's my special unfair advantage.
Yeah.
So I just have to take more control of that and exploit that more, exploit my own personal unfair advantage, instead of feeling like I need to make, do blacksmithing as well as these guys, or cabinetry as well as that guy. It's like I can make beautiful cabinetry all day long, but I would be bored. So how can I do it that's more fun for me and more interesting? And, people come to me for the quirky weirdness, and how can I just do that more often?
Yeah. I mean, on that kind of, I don't know. I thought about this a second ago when you said that. I just looked up that in 2017, it says that there are 1.3 billion people who use YouTube. And I know that there are certain things where we feel like there's a competition because of just the mass of people who are creating content. But if you think about it, there's 1.3 potential billion viewers.
Right.
There are enough people to watch all of us. So that has nothing to do with what you just said. But I just thought about I wonder what's our total number of eyeballs that we are working with here?
Well, I mean, amongst our viewers, and that's like a swarm of bees that's always growing, honestly. I mean, the eyeballs that watch us, and like I said, I've seen my analytics dropping a little bit or a lot of bit, and I'm like, what can I do? How did I get to where I am? How can I look and see got me where I am, and just try and take more advantage of, classic Diresta, whatever people want to call it, and try and take more advantage of that.
Classic Diresta. Yeah.
I'm that old. I'm not being called classic. Like, remember when VH1 had a regular channel and then an old version of itself? Place to play repeats. That's what I need. Classic Diresta YouTube channel.
All right, now here's some homework for you people. Somebody take a Coca-Cola can that says Coca-Cola Classic, replace Coca-Cola with Diresta. So we have Diresta Classic.
Right.
Oh, God.
And then we can have Diresta New.
Ooh, yeah.
New Diresta.
And then everyone's going to complain about it.
You've changed.
And you get Diresta Zero, Diet Diresta,
That's where we're headed.
Cherry Diresta.
Zero.
Yeah.
Instead of absolutely no calories, absolutely zero viewers.
All right, is it me?
Yep.
Yeah, for continue. I want to continue to evolve. I don't know if people recognize it or not, but have always tried to do something different, something new at a really tiny level on every single video. And so instead of being like, now my videos are going to look like this, and I'm going to change my color palette, and I'm going to change my, like making a big shift, which I think there's totally good reasons to do that. But I've always been of the approach of like incremental change, really small changes over time, so that people watching don't really realize that stuff is getting better, but they realize it when they go back and they watch a video from like a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and they're like, man, those are awful compared to what you're doing now. And I'm like, great, fantastic. So I want to continue to find ways to evolve the quality and the storytelling, because I think getting someone to follow along naturally with what I'm trying to show them, it takes a lot of effort sometimes, and that's something I want to get better at. And to enable that, I want to continue to learn new things. Like, that's just a big part of who I am. I always like to learn new stuff. But part of that is for this next year, I'm going to try to funnel that learning time into stuff that's maybe less obvious, like cinematography, lighting, just running camera and like the mechanics of a camera, the mechanics of audio recording. That stuff that like I can't immediately show off that like, hey, this is going to look better because of this course that I took. But I need to get some of that knowledge into me so that I can justify whether this, lighting makes sense, or maybe it makes things faster to produce. I don't know. But I want to try to take some of the behind the scenes learning stuff that will make the in front of scenes stuff. I don't know how to say that. Behind the scenes learning that will make the actual visible production better. And I still want to continue to just go down the route of being able to having the basic skills and the basic knowledge to create whatever I feel like creating at any time. That's like a long-term goal. That's me.
I want to continue doing things for the right reasons. So I have learned that I'm not making videos and online content to make all kinds of money. I am doing it because it's what I'm passionate about, and the fact that I'm fortunate enough to do this for a living is a byproduct of that. And so I am going to continue following my passion, and if something changes, if my passion about woodworking or making video changes, I'm going to transition it into something else, and I'm going to follow what I think I should be doing. And that's not, so don't worry, nothing's going to change anytime soon, because I love what I'm doing. So I'm just going to continue doing things for the right reasons. And it's one of those things why I don't say buy my books every episode or buy my plans every single episode. I try not to be too marketing-ish. I want people to like me and be inspired by me. And man, I'm just really lucky to do this for a living. It's crazy.
Totally agree.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. Speaking of Happy New Year, this is going to be our last show for the year, right?
I think so. Next Monday is Christmas.
Yeah. And then we'll just like take the time for the rest of the year. So we'll be back in January, early January. But show's not over yet. What have you guys been watching? Anything cool?
Yeah. Laura Kampf has done this tiny house trailer series on her YouTube channel. and she has moved into it, and it's so cool. I'm just really into it, and I know we've talked about her plenty of times in the past, but we need to continue talking about her because she's doing really cool stuff.
Yeah, totally agree. Sweet.
You know what? You know what I've been watching? Taylor and I started finding clips of it online. I'm going to talk about two quick things. Is the Amy Sedaris show? Have you guys been watching it?
I've seen clips. It's pretty funny.
It is. Amy Sedaris is just a hugely funny comedian. She's been around for a long time, and she has a show now. It's on True TV, which is so odd because the TV business is scrambling to try and to get ahead. Anyway, True TV is putting on a comedy craft show, but that's what it is. It's a comedy craft show, and the humor is kind of is the priority. But she does these ridiculous crafts which are pointless. She's almost kind of mocking. What is her name? The queen of everything craft. Martha Stewart. Yeah, she's kind of mocking Martha Stewart, and also like her southern neighbor. She has a woman that takes over for her when she's not around. I forget her name, but it's really funny. She's like a big southern woman. She does a lot of the characters. But anyway, so check out the Amy Sedaris show. If you don't have True TV, I just found clips of it on YouTube. I haven't even seen a full episode beginning to back, but I've watched a lot of clips just because it keeps making us laugh. And the other thing I'm going to talk about, Tom's Tool Room. Tom's Tool Room. He doesn't have a hugely, he doesn't have a channel that he constantly curates and does stuff with, but his Instagram, he's got some stuff. And the reason I bring him up is he's making the prototypes, the production prototypes for the Knuckleduster. And I haven't really talked about it until now because just in the last couple of days, he's been posting some pictures. I told him, go for it, do whatever you want. There's no secrets. The Knuckleduster, I'm going to do a pre-sale of 100 of them. But Tom is actually doing the production on them, very similar to the way this old Tony made them, but he's got to think in terms of making several of them. So he's got jigs and rigs. And so go look at Tom's Tool Room on Instagram. I'll send you guys the link to post it because it might not be called that, but that's his YouTube channel. Anyway, so Tom's Tool Room is working on the Knuckleduster, and you could watch his progress on it. And then eventually I'll get some samples in hand and I'll decide what to do then. Because it's going to be expensive because it is expensive to make and it's complicated. So we'll see.
Sweet. Awesome. So mine is Star Wars related, of course, but it's not about the new movie. It's a really interesting video from Rocket Jump. If you're familiar with Rocket Jump, it's Freddie W's channel where he's been on YouTube for a long time doing visual effects and all this stuff. Well, they have a new-ish series about how movies are made. I can't remember what the name of the series is. But anyway, the video is called How Star Wars Was Saved in the Edit. And it's really interesting because it's about the original Star Wars movie and it's a collection of old clips and old edit information of the original edit and how bad it was and how George Lucas had a team of people that kind of came in and said, like, this doesn't work and here's why. And so they reshot certain things or they recut certain things in the edit to make the story flow better and make sense. And so for anybody that's into storytelling, especially like fictional storytelling, I think it's really interesting to see how you can take basically the same footage and reorder and re-edit it to get a different flow and a different attention to it. So anybody that's into video production, it might be interesting. Whether it's not about Star Wars so much as editing. So put that in there. It was pretty good, and it's like 15 or 16 minutes long. Not too bad. Cool. You guys got anything else?
That's it. Look forward to my stage performance with my cone bra. It's coming up in the new year.
No.
I'm going to start getting plastic surgery too, so.
Oh, yeah.
Look forward to my facelift.
Okay.
I think you look good now.
Yeah?
No, I just need a little like, see, watch. See how I look now? Now that looks better, right? See this?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
See that?
Beard lift.
Yeah. See, no. Look how old I look now. See how much younger I look when I do that.
Oh, it's like 10 years just goes away.
If anybody wants to know what I'm doing, I'm pulling about 1 millimeter up on my cheek. I've been around women when they go, no, I just need this. You see that? You see how much better I look? See? That's it right there. That's all I need. And they come back looking like they have saran wrap on their face.
Anyway.
No judging.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody listening for this last year, for listening to the show and hanging out with us and watching the videos. And everything. And I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday season. No matter what you're doing, where you are, be safe and enjoy yourself. Spend time with the family and friends and everything. And guess we'll see everybody next year.
Just a little word of advice for anybody wanting to do a New Year's resolution. Just get outside your comfort zone. That's how you grow. That's how you learn. Impart any wisdom. Get outside your comfort zone. Slightly.
Just slightly.
Love you guys. Thank you.
Cool.